This is the first Ask a Scientist live by XR Scientists.
Not only is the extinction possible, it's actually happening.
All of the choices that we make in terms of what we eat, what we consume, what we own, what we wear, how much we travel, those things done by all of us contribute in various different ways, subtle, complicated ways, to this problem of bringing animal pathogens, non-human animal pathogens, closer to humans, giving them the opportunity to spill over into humans.
As a sort of global community, we need to look at how these food chains and these international policies and national policies around food actually affect these spillover events.
So we ask miners to go in there to supply us with our coltan. And when they go in there, they live in a mining camp. And what do they eat? Well, they may eat a variety of things, but they're also likely to be eating local wildlife. They are exposing themselves to new viruses on our behalf so that we can have cell phones. Just one example of the way it's all connected to the choices that we make.
We mustn't stigmatize necessarily people for the types of food that they eat, but we do have to think very carefully about how it's produced. I also encourage you to think of somebody buying a chicken or a piece of beef or wherever in Europe, which is coming from an intensive farm, where there are equally important issues about the way we bring so much biomass into a concentrated space and how we feed those animals, and most importantly, how we deal with their waste and the impacts that that has on the surrounding environment and on the consumers of those products. So we celebrate the diversity of food, but we have to also be very cognizant of how all of that food is produced.
So it could be that the wet markets do pose some risk, but actually in the whole scheme of it, they aren't as risky as you might imagine in the first place. It's not just one answer, but you can ban these things and then that's it. We have a joint responsibility for our actions of destroying ecosystems and impacting them in ways which are causing these spillovers to happen. So maybe it's a way to pause and think about, well, what do we need to change? And so maybe this post-COVID world might be a bit different in terms of less exploitative.
One of the very few last chances we get to persuade people of the importance of making drastic fundamental changes to the way we live with the rest of the natural world on this planet. This is a crisis that we must not let go to waste.
Land use change and ecosystem destruction is happening right now and the effects are being felt. We need to have a whole bigger perspective of how the links between ecosystem modification links to human health, and that work is not being done.
It's a failure of policy, it's a failure of preparedness, it's a failure of the people who control the wheels of government to hear and to internalize and to act upon the warnings that were coming from science.
I think we need to make sure we're looking at the ecological dynamic and the environmental and social risk factors within the same frameworks for diseases, and actually involving the local communities and trying to understand the extent to which behaviour change might be possible.
The public health people need to engage in a much more fundamental way with ecologists.
It's our leaders who have to act on the information that science is already supplying.